Hi, I'm going to talk to you about my new student dialogue. The new student dialogue I went to was Second Happiest Campus, a dialogue on mental health at Clemson University. At my new student dialogue, we talked about how people deal with themselves, how they view themselves, and how other people view them. And we also talked about the different kinds of mental illnesses that people can have, like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, depression, OCD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and many others. We also talked about how people deal with their mental illnesses and how other people should interact. The first thing we did was we played icebreaker games to make it a more sharing environment. Each person shared a little bit about themselves, and since it was a game, it was a more relaxed environment where people got used to the idea of sharing with others in the group. Then we read sheets about how to properly have a dialogue so that it could be a constructive situation when we were actually having our dialogue. We discussed what we should do in a dialogue and what we shouldn't do in a dialogue. We then did a worksheet on how we view ourselves, what parts of our lives were most important to us, which ones we ranked higher, and which ones have made a bigger impact on our lives. We then got into small groups of about 4 people, and we discussed the number 1 ranked aspect of our lives that we put. We also talked about why this category was ranked number 1 for us. We then got into other small groups of about 4 people. Each group got 2 mental illnesses to read about and discuss. We read a sheet about each illness. It talked about the symptoms of the illness and what people with the illness have to deal with. Once we read about it and discussed the information about each mental illness, we were instructed to draw a picture of what somebody with this mental illness would look like. So each group drew 2 pictures, and then as an entire group we discussed about what we drew and why we drew it. Then, in the small groups we were in, we walked around and discussed our personal connections with each of the illnesses, where people shared about their own stories and stories of close friends and family. We then, as a big group, talked about these experiences, and we also talked about the drawings we had just drawn, and how people with mental illnesses don't normally look any different from normal people, but people without mental illnesses tend to stereotype those with mental illnesses into some idea that they think they are, which normally is not true. We then, as a whole group, watched a video on how to interact with people with mental illnesses, how they would like to be treated, and how people think that they should treat people with mental illnesses. Then we discussed how we felt about this video. Many people shared about how they would like to be treated if they had a mental illness, and how they think they should treat others with mental illnesses. Within the group, there were few active voices. They were the more outgoing people, the people who had stuff to share about it, with personal experiences, and they wanted to share about it. The majority of the group were passive voices, people who didn't feel like they had as much to share, or had something to share, and didn't feel comfortable sharing it with the entire group. I myself was a more reserved voice in the dialogue, due to the fact that I didn't have as much personal connection to people with mental illnesses, or I didn't have as much experience with people with mental illnesses, so I didn't have as much to share about. But I still feel like I got a lot out of it by listening to other people's experiences and understanding their experiences. I believe as a group we achieved a dialogue. In the smaller groups with less people, it was much easier to get a good dialogue going because people felt more comfortable sharing with small amounts of people. When we got in the larger dialogues, however, it was a little harder to get people to open up and share, and it took a little longer to create an actual dialogue. I believe that the dialogue is part of the Library 100 course because it gives an environment where people can discuss an issue and talk about something without the feeling that they're going to be judged. And college is all about being able to experience new things, which this dialogue allowed people to experience new viewpoints from other people. I feel like dialogue is a useful part of university experience because it creates that ability to talk about a topic without a discussion or a debate ensuing where somebody feels like their viewpoint is being looked down upon or that's being proven wrong. The dialogue as a whole was very informative, and it showed me new viewpoints on mental illness and people's personal stories on mental illness.